Yo, what is up, guys? This is B Brips and Bricto here. Today, I'd like to talk about LEGO pricing. Essentially, when a new set comes out that's either a remake of an old set, sometimes even more of like a re-release of an old set. I want to talk about what happens to the price of the older set. I'm going to go through a couple examples, and the main reason for this video is, with the new R2D2 coming out, it's not a remake of the old UCS set, but it looks very similar. I've seen a lot of people discussing how this is going to affect the price of the older set. A lot of people, I think, have this perception that the old one is going to go down in price, basically cut in half. It's going to be basically available for retail on eBay, new in box, and I'm here to tell you guys that that's just not going to happen, in my opinion. And I'm going to go through some examples and basically talk about the factors at play here when we talk about how new set releases affect the prices of older sets. And so, to be honest, just to start off here, I'd like to focus on a different set than the R2D2. I'm going to look at the Taj Mahal. As you guys know, this set was released, I think in 2007 originally, set 10189. Before we saw the re-release, I want to say in 2017, and this was basically an exact copy, a re-release, right? Essentially, the new copy filled the market, the used market on eBay of the old set, right? No one is gonna basically desire the older version unless they want to keep it sealed in box. A very niche sort of group of collectors are going to want the old one, but to be honest, 90% of the people, probably even more than that, 90-something% of the people are going to be just as happy with the new one because it's essentially exactly the same. And so the old one, to be honest, was rising in price quite a bit on eBay before the re-release. I mean, this set was well over $1,000. It was really hard to come by, new sealed in box, and it was one of those sort of a holy grail sets for a lot of people, sort of their white whale. And it was obviously it was the largest set at the time when it came out. So I think for a lot of people, it meant a lot to get that set, and that's why we saw such a crazy price. Then we see the re-release come out for $350, and boom! I mean, that thing it tanked the market of the old one on eBay. I saw a lot of people flood eBay with their sealed old ones, and the prices they were getting were just so much less than just a few months before we knew that we were going to be getting a re-release. And that's because, like I said, it exactly filled the spot of the old place. It's a re-release, and that's why now we're seeing people listing it for $900, which may seem like a lot for some people, but this set, I mean, if you're holding on for this for 14 years, and I don't think it's even going to sell for this much. This is just one listing right now that's available. I mean, that's not great, to be honest, and it was going for so much more before. Okay, now we're going to be looking at another example. So, if you guys remember, the Imperial Star Destroyer, the original UCS, came out in 2002. We saw the new UCS version of this come out last fall. Now, there's like 18 years right there between the old one and the new one. These sets are not replicas. They're quite a bit different. Yes, they're both UCS. Yes, they're both the Imperial Star Destroyer. But to be honest, I don't think the demand of the old one was filled completely with the new one. Sure, I think a lot of people were definitely happy of just getting the new one and kind of forgot about the old one. But I still think there was a fair amount of collectors, especially UCS collectors, who still wanted the old one. It has a lot of different build techniques. It's a lot older. It uses magnets, things like that. It's a different set. And although some of the demand for the old one was absorbed by the new one, there's still some left. That's why we see on eBay, if you go on right now, the price for this set is still hovering new in box just over $1,000. And it's basically held constant, I would say, since before the release of the new UCS. It was hovering around that price as well. And now it's still hovering around that price. Basically, the price of this has stayed constant with the release of the new one. And so for the third example, we're going to be looking at Diagon Alley. So we're going to be looking at the 2011 version versus the one that just released in 2020. So the 2011 one, before the release of the new one, was going for about $400 on eBay. Then we saw the new one come out. To be honest, a very different looking set, not like these other two situations. A very different looking set, different buildings, and the price of the price of the old one essentially just continued to rise. The new release didn't really affect it a whole lot. It was going for about $400, and if you look at it right now, it's going for about $550. Essentially, that increasing price trend continued on, was basically unaffected almost by the release of the new set. Why is this? Because the demand of the old set was not influenced by the release of the new one, because the new one was so much different. It just had so much differences in the set and the building choice and the style of how it looks, that the demand of the old one was not absorbed by the release of the new one because of all these new features and everything like that. So essentially right now we're left with essentially this spectrum of like three different examples, right? We have one where the price of the old set was affected greatly because it was essentially a re-release. So the price of the older version went down significantly. Next, we have a updated set, but in the sense, they still have a lot of similarities. They're the same UCS. They're the same. They're both UCS sets. They're both the UCS Star Destroyer, right? And the price of the old one didn't diminish. It didn't continue going up. It essentially just stayed flat. And then we have this third example with the Diagon Alley. The new one that came out, completely different than the old one. Huge update, different style choice, different building choices, and the price of the old one just sort of continued on that increasing price trend. So the question is then, where does the new R2D2 fit in this sort of spectrum of three different scenarios? I think it's going to fall somewhere between the first and second scenario. I don't think that the old one is going to diminish in value greatly, but I also don't think it's just going to stay constant. I think it's going to decrease slightly. And if you look at eBay price trends right now, essentially before the announcement of the release of the new R2D2, a sealed copy of the old one was going for about $400. Now it's going for about $350. So we're already seeing this sort of take place with this information out in the public, but sort of before the release. And I think it's going to sort of stay at that. Essentially, I think the old one's going to be, you can probably get it for a slight discounted price at about $350 compared to $400 a couple months ago. But I don't expect that price trend to continue going down. I also don't expect it to jump back up. I sort of expect it to stay at that constant, slightly lower than what it was going for a price of $350 for at least the lifespan of the new set. So it comes down to this, right? If you're looking at getting the new R2D2, people are asking, well, should I just get the old one? I kind of like, the nostalgia factor for that. I like that it's a UCS. Should I get the old one or should I get the new one? Personally, I would recommend getting the new one for two reasons. One, I think the new one is just a better set. It's updated, new building techniques. It's just a more cleaner set. It's just going to be better in that sense. Second of all, I would say that if you're a UCS collector and you're like, this might be a really good time for me to pick up the old one and I could get it for a decent price right now, I would say that you're still going to have the chance to get the old one at a relatively good price, around that $350 price range, again, for at least the lifespan of when the new one is out. So I think your timing wise, you're probably good for at least another 18 months. So I wouldn't fret too much about scalping the older version right now for that $350 price range. I think you'll be okay for a little while. All right, guys, that sort of wraps up my thought on this topic. I think it was sort of interesting to go over, look at some of the data points, and sort of conceptualize what these, three different examples that sort of creates this spectrum. So if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This is Brooks signing off. Thanks, guys.